Hi, welcome to the Functionally Fit podcast. I'm Jenn Rice, and I'm really just so glad to bring you today a guest that I think will give us just a great perspective and help us to sort of master, in a way, a little bit more on our self-care and taking care of ourselves as caregivers, whether you're a caregiver professionally. We've both, the guest and I, have a background in medicine, but we can all find ourselves in a caregiver position at any time, regardless of profession. And I think that her story is really going to add some significant value to people, and I'm excited for her to be here today. So welcome, Lamantia. I'm so excited to have you here. We're both from Virginia, so we already bonded over Virginia and golden retrievers. She had a golden that like went by the background, and I was like, wait, what's that? So yeah, so welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Jenn.
So if you don't mind just kind of going through a little bit, I know your background is as an RN. If you could kind of share with us a little bit about your, professional caregiving experience, and then now sort of how that brings us to, and then I know you became a yoga teacher. So I think learning that transition could be really helpful for people. So yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, I'm a nurse, and I've been a nurse for many years. I worked in OBGYN and hospice care and a med surg floor, and then I got out of nursing and went into yoga, and because of lots of reasons, and I, working in the nursing profession, which I absolutely love, but one of the reasons why I did get out of it, because I felt like it was just, it takes a lot out of you.
Were you a nurse from a young age, or what year did you become a nurse?
I graduated in upstate New York in 1996.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in my early 30s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just were drawn to the profession for a lot of the reasons a lot of us are drawn to healthcare, right? To help people.
Yeah, I wanted, to get out there and help people and make a difference in the world, and that's why I was drawn to it. Yeah.
And was there support for you from places that you worked that would I know that lately we hear a lot about self-care, but I know that even I've been doing healthcare for about 20 years, and it's only recently that corporations or practices have incorporated wellness or things. So did you even know of any, was there even much talk about nursing burnout then, or no? And so you
Absolutely not. I didn't even understand the concept of self-care.
So you were kind of the day in the life was, you're raising you said you have 3 children, so you're a busy mom and working, and probably taking care of a lot of patients when you were working. Yeah. And then did you find yourself one day in what we would now call like burnout or exhaustion?
Yeah. I remember getting to the point where I was just exhausted, and I knew that how was I going to juggle raising 3 young children and being in the nursing career. And eventually I got out of the nursing because it was just, I wanted to be that best mother for my children, and I couldn't juggle everything. So
that makes sense. One of the
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started looking around for something else to, do, what drew you to, yoga? Was it the therapeutic benefits you were receiving, or?
Yeah. There was a gap there between me getting out of nursing, and then we moved, and I just felt like I really, at that time in my life, I wanted to calm my mind more, and I just wanted to relax my body and be more at ease. And that's why I got into the yoga profession, or started taking yoga. And then I took the teacher training and I became certified. So, and I knew I needed something to bring me back to me, bring me back to my authentic self, bring me back to, what is my purpose here? And it's not necessarily a job. It's more of being here for me and being my best advocate, so I can be the best advocate for other people.
Yeah,
So,
I love that. So did you go on to do some teaching then for a period of
mhm.
time?
Yeah, I taught, I took the teacher training in 2008, and then I went on, and I taught, after that, I taught several places. I taught out of the house, and I taught in a cancer center for some time. And then I taught at a community center. And actually recently, and I'm subbing for on Zoom, and I for people with COPD. So
Oh, so
yeah.
they're doing yoga with something like, for those of you not familiar with COPD, it's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and it's often most of the time happens later in life and can be due to a lot of different factors, heart disease or other
Some people
things.
are
So
actually born with
support
it,
that.
which was
Okay.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So then they're doing some type of yoga in.
It's a study that they're doing over a period of time to see the benefits of it for people with COPD.
Oh, wow. That's really, so is
Yeah.
it chair yoga or is it like actual, I see a lot of
Uh,
chair yoga for people,
yeah.
but
Depending on the class, but it's chair, and there is some standing positions, and there's some lying down positions. But I would say for the most part, it's some standing, some chair, and not too, depending on the class, if you do the floor exercises or not. Yeah.
wow, that's great. So I know you're not no pull back then to medicine for you. You felt like this was more in line with I also like talking about this too, because I think sometimes people, and I'm definitely have been there myself, where you pick one path and then you can feel locked in and that
Hmm.
you're not able to make changes. So I think it's so great when we can hear from someone too who successfully, like, you made it okay to do something that was new or different, and we're following more. I think you were telling me earlier before we were recording, like more of a heart mission.
I'm sorry, a part of a what?
Yeah, like a heart mission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, coming from the heart. And it's like uh, to serve, but serve from a place from the heart. Help people meet their needs. Yeah.
And if you don't mind sharing, I know you personally have been through some loss, and this is kind of also, I think another lesson that sometimes life can give us is what can be a bad part that's happening can bring something beautiful out of it. And we were talking about your parents, and then how you're moving forward with yoga, for caregivers. And so if you could share a little bit with us about caregiving on the side of people taking care of family members. And I'm sure you saw a lot of this when you did hospice too, but how now you're centered a little bit more on wanting to help caregivers.
Yeah, well, I especially saw it with my mother caregiving my dad over the like I said, it was, I would say, the past 5 years, but it was very much in process over the past 2 years. And I live away and I couldn't be there to help much, but I had my other sisters there. But I felt very helpless or hopeless, whatever the word is, because I saw my mother just, I don't know what the word is, spiraling out of control, um,
Was
I
she
was,
consumed with it was only about him, your father, or is that what you kind of felt
yeah,
like?
and it's almost like she left her life for his life. And I so desperately wanted her to find a time during the day to go for a walk or find something where she can regenerate herself. And that was it's a very hard thing, I think, when you're the sole person really taking care of that sick person. So I didn't see much of that. And I felt like I was her daughter. She had to be strong for me. And it was like, no, you don't have to be, I'm here. I can be strong for you, but you don't have to like hold up for me. You can break down and cry, if you need to, or you can lean on us and put your head on our shoulders. But I think it was a hard thing for her to do because of the generation she's, from.
Yeah.
And I felt like she wasn't really reaching out for support that she needed. But she did, I think that goes back to her generation, so it really got me thinking how much caregivers need some kind of support, a support system.
Yeah. So I can relate to your story, and I'm sorry about your dad. I know that you said he passed in May, and now your mom is doing okay, or is she?
Yeah, she's my mom has never been one that's been real well with self-care for herself. She raised 5 kids and all that. And what I've noticed since my dad has passed is, which I'm glad that I saw this, is when we're on the phone talking, she says, I need to go now. I need to lie down, in which I'm so glad that she's honoring herself and doing that instead of continuing to have the conversation, because that's so unlike her to do that. She always gives to everybody else and doesn't think of herself. So I think now, she is learning to take care of her and how important it is for her own health and well-being.
Yeah. And I think, so where I work in Naples, Florida, as a PA in dermatology, I have an average, a lot of our patients are often in their 80s and very vibrant too, but I have a conversation from time to time with a spouse about the other spouse that's struggling with a medical problem. And it is absolutely, well, it's hard to listen to, but I want to make myself available, but it's a real struggle, and it's a real, some get help and a lot just try to manage and put on, like you were saying with your mom, a strong, and I do think you're right, that can be a bit generational. I also think it can also be just thinking that you've got it handled, quote unquote. And I think that sometimes it's a personality type too, because a lot of people even our age and younger people I've seen, I'm handling, like, just people that don't talk it out, or people that don't try to do these other things. So I think it's important to just bring out that it's not just to have someone to listen sometimes is really key. And it's like, you're not, I know sometimes I feel like this. I get caught in the I'm trying to fix it mindset. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna help, I'm gonna fix you, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna fix you. And a lot of times I don't need to fix it. I just need to listen.
Right. That's so true. I feel like really we want to be heard and we want to be seen, and we don't want people, we don't want people fixing us. We don't want people telling us what to do. You know, I think we all feel like that. And I think that's really important, is just to sit with that person, be present for them, listen to them. Even if you don't say a word, just sitting there in presence and opening your heart, it goes such a long way.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. So you began the yoga to really help calm your mind, but then fell in love with helping other people be able to do the same thing. So when you envision this yoga for caregivers, how do you envision this to be used by someone? Like, is this, would it be online? Is it reading? Is it in person? Is it just depends? Or
I envision it right now to do it on Zoom, a
oh,
class.
yeah.
Yeah, with people. And but I really am interested, you know, because I haven't started doing it yet. But what I'm interested in is talking to people that are caregivers and ask them what they need to help them through the process. You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
really, if you want the feedback, get it from the person who's going through it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So you were also talking to me about a book potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, can
Yeah.
you give us a little sneak peek on that and what you're
Sure. Yeah. This book is, and it all started around the time my dad was ill. Sorry, my dog is back here. Let me just.
That's
He's
okay.
scratching. Let me
Sweet.
hold on a second.
Sweet baby.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I came up with an idea to do a book, a seasonal 7-day meal plan for seniors. And it all started, the thinking process actually started with me, one with me and my nutrition, and with my dad. And I have noticed as I've gotten older, not that I'm a senior, but I think this book could be for anybody. But I am thinking of seniors because of my dad. And the one thing, he was, you know, he was on oxygen the past several years of his life. And he really couldn't get up and do things. And the one thing that he really relished was eating his 3 good meals a day. And what happened was I saw my mom, like, because she was depleted, she couldn't provide the nutritious meals that he wanted. And I went as far as finding somebody locally where they lived. Okay, who could come in and cook these delicious meals for him? Couldn't find anybody. Then I looked into, I think it's called Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
And that, excuse me, but that food
Yeah.
is
No,
crap.
it's not. Yeah. Yeah. It's not ideal.
And there's no
for-
nutrition.
Right.
Yeah. And he was on a low salt diet. And then I got flustered and I said, you know what? I am going to write this book, and it's going to be for people that are elderly, and it's going to be very bullet point simple so they can understand, and it's not a lot of stress. And they have a book there, and they can look up a meal and without stressing about it, and something that's healthy and delicious. And also another part of the story is I find myself getting older and realizing I really need nutrition in my body. And I'm being more cognizant of what it is I want to eat. And so that it's all of those things that got me rolling.
Yeah, I love that, because I've always preached, and you know, many have said it, that you know, Americans are overfed but undernourished. and that a lot of the health things that I previously went through a few years back were due to I thought I mean, I was kind of eating whatever and going to drive-throughs and, whatever it might be, but I was not eating any food of any quality, really, maybe a couple times a week, if that. So you're right in that. And I think this can come like, even if you're, 20 years old and struggling with anxiety, you got to look at your food, because if the food is of low nutrient value, you're going to struggle more and more with conditions and it seems to magnify all the small things when our nutrition is off and our nutrient consumption is really down. It just magnifies small problems.
Right.
So, yeah. So I love that you're, and I think as we get older, and I see this with my parents too, like maybe my dad might say something like he eats a bowl of cereal, which is fine once in a while, but it's important to eat more varieties of food. And I get that you're not maybe as hungry as, like, he does tell me. My dad's 86 and he lives alone and he does great, but I don't think he's like as hungry as maybe he once was. But maybe having some stimulation when I do bring him new foods or things to try, he is excited about eating those things. I think you can get caught in eating the same thing all the time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. What came to mind when you were speaking of your dad is they're just not as active either, and I just feel that vitamins and minerals are important in like green leafy vegetables. And not only that, you think, especially their age, their brain health,
Right.
And getting, we can take the minerals and the vitamins on a daily basis, but we also get a lot in our food during the day. But what do they say? You are what you eat. So it's important to.
It always comes back to food. I think I probably should have just called the podcast like "Eat the Right Food" or something, because it seems like every ending to every podcast is we are what we eat. Food is medicine. Food is like our best tool to get all the things really that we're looking for in our health. So I just love talking with you though, and I appreciate you coming on today. And if people are listening and they wanted to connect with you a little bit more, I know you said that you have a website, and then we'll also put that in the show notes, as well as an email where they can connect with you. And then you have a blog that you're getting going again, as far as like, it will have content around this yoga for caregivers and new things happening, right?
Yeah, and the book too. I wanted to, I like to share more about that.
Yeah, and when you, I'd love to have you back when you release the book, so we can help you to get the word out more on that. There may be people that would love to get that out to their family members and
that
relatives.
Would be excellent.
Yeah,
I would love that too.
Yeah. And you're the cutie behind you's running around. He's like, I gotta go. Okay, well, thanks for being here, and I really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much.
Thank you for inviting me.